This could be my last chance.
You're up to something. What is it?
It's not exactly legal.
I want to see you get hurt more than you already have.
This would be a cure.
Michael, what's happening?
I went from dying to feeling more alive than ever. Increased strength and speed. The ability to use echolocation. And an overpowering urge to consume blood. How far are we allowed to go to fix something that's broken? Until the remedy is worse than the disease.
Michael Morbius. Got tired of doing the whole good guy thing, huh?
What's up, Doc?
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This is going to be my new Morbius trailer video. Sony just made a big announcement about the release date. There's a bunch of Spider-Man and Venom 2 Easter eggs going on in this too. There will be some moments of crossover, so I'll explain how that's going to work. I'll also be doing a Venom 2 trailer video soon, so definitely hit subscribe if you haven't already to be one of the first to see that when it comes out. It's supposed to come out next month, and I think that's probably going to be accurate, even though all the delays have been pushing everything. Press F in the chat to pay your respects to the New Mutants movie. So we'll talk about the Marvel Spider-Man Venom 2 connections first and what's going on with Matt Smith's character, Jared Harris's character, and then I'll talk about what's going on with the Morbius release date and the Venom 2 release date. Thankfully, they finished filming Venom 2 before the big virus outbreak. But the way they're treating the Morbius Spider-Man crossover moments is way simpler than you ever expected. It's not some complicated multiverse explainer, it's not Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, even though Sam Raimi himself is directing Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness, and I know a lot of you guys that are big Tobey Spider-Man fans want to see some Easter eggs for his version during that. But what's going on during the Morbius movie is all about Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and as a lot of you probably suspected, when that Spider-Man suit shows up and it's Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man suit, but it's referencing Tom Holland's Spider-Man, it totally doesn't make sense. There's a really funny reason for that too. So quick timeline clarification on when the Morbius movie actually takes place. It takes place after the events of Spider-Man Far From Home's post-credit scene with Mysterio's video and J. Jonah Jameson putting Spider-Man on blast to the world. That's why it says murderer in graffiti across the Spider-Man suit. The reason why it's Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man suit is because when they released this trailer, they needed to get something together so quickly without completely giving away the fact that Tom Holland's Spider-Man is going to eventually be crossing over into these movies. Maybe they just hoped that fans would forget about the fact that Kevin Feige said that Spider-Man was already going to cross over with the Venom characters, and they just wouldn't think about it when they saw the Spider-Man suit. Or maybe they failed to assume that fans would notice that it's not the right Spider-Man suit. So just to be clear, Tobey Maguire is not crossing over into the Morbius movie. It's intended to be a reference to Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and they're just going to change the suit to his Spider-Man suit before the movie's released. There's also a lot of Sinister Six stuff going on during the movie through Michael Keaton's Vulture character, and also finally introducing the idea of Oscorp into the Sony Venomverse. You can think of it as the Spider-Man universe, but you have to be really careful with the way you talk about how these movies connect to the Marvel Spider-Man movies. So Venom himself is not part of the MCU, for instance. Morbius is not part of the MCU. But technically, when all the Tom Holland Spider-Man Easter eggs show up in the Morbius movie, they're just going to treat it like Morbius and Venom do exist on the same Earth as Tom Holland's Spider-Man. It's not the multiverse. It's just that in the Morbius movie, when they're referencing Spider-Man stuff like Michael Keaton's Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming, they're not going to be referencing too many of the other Avengers, and I don't think that Sony is allowed to actually include the other Avengers on screen. But I think they're allowed to reference the Snap from Avengers Infinity War and the Blip from Avengers Endgame. Remember that funny interview with Kevin Feige where he got turned into a meme because of his reaction to Amy Pascal and her talking about the Venom movie being MCU adjacent?
Well, those movies will all take place in the world that we are now creating for Peter Parker. I mean, there'll be adjuncts to it. They may be different locations, but it will still all be in the same world, and they will be connected to each other as well.
That's actually a good way to think about the Venom, the Morbius, and any possible big Sinister Six movies. The special weaponry that Tyrese has on his wrist gauntlet is actually supposed to be made by Oscorp, so apparently there will be some Oscorp stuff happening in the Morbius movie, but there's been no mention of them casting an actor for Norman Osborn, and I don't think that they have. I think that they're just starting to reference Oscorp within this larger universe. The Venom 2 crossover moments are also supposed to be connected to all the Tom Holland Spider-Man crossover moments. They're sort of getting it all out in one big burst, and it's all about what's going on with Michael Keaton's Vulture character. When Morbius walks by him in his white prison uniform and Vulture jokes that he's done being a good guy too, it's actually supposed to be happening at the same prison where Cletus Cassidy Carnage is being held. The leap that they're supposed to be making in the Morbius movie is that Vulture and Scorpion at some point between Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home, after all the snaps and the blip back, have been transferred to the same prison where Carnage is being kept at. And apparently the reason why you see Morbius walking past Vulture, chatting him up like it's no big deal in the street, is because there's a big prison break and the Sinister Six Carnage villains all bust out. So that kind of explains why Carnage is walking around in a red and yellow Hawaiian shirt during all the Venom 2 footage we saw them filming earlier this year. And obviously during the Venom 2 trailer, they'll have some Easter egg scenes for Spider-Man and Morbius stuff, just like the Morbius trailer. So that this whole timeline makes sense, because it sounds like Venom 2 is going to take place after the events of Morbius. But even though there's all this Spider-Man stuff happening in Morbius and Venom 2, there's been no mention of Morbius, Venom, or Carnage showing up anywhere in Spider-Man 3. But I think it's okay to assume that there'll be some continuation of them developing this Sinister Six Michael Keaton Vulture plot that starts in Morbius. It's not too much of a stretch to assume there'll be some kind of post-credit scene that references eventual crossover with those characters. As for the Matt Smith character, I know you're all wondering what he's doing in the Morbius movie. He's actually playing the main villain. He's Hunger from the comics, who's another vampire-like creature that feeds on humans. The movie version of the character is a little bit different from the comics, but he's still manipulating Morbius into becoming Morbius, seeking out his special treatment with these bats that you see in the trailer, then him becoming the living vampire, so it's him trying to manipulate Morbius through the movie. I haven't heard anything about them bringing Matt Smith back in future Morbius sequels, so feel free to theorycraft about how the movie deals or does not deal with him by the end. If the first Morbius movie does well though, of course they're going to try and do a sequel. I'm hoping that they eventually try to cross him over with Marvel's new Blade and some of the darker characters like Moon Knight eventually. But as you saw in the clip that I put at the beginning of this video, one of Sony's official accounts posted this trailer video saying that it's going to be released August 7th, which is 1 week after the original release date. So it seems like Sony's just bumping Morbius by a little, which I think is great. And Venom 2, thankfully, has not been delayed yet, but it's not coming out to the beginning of October, so I think a lot of people are just expecting everything to get better around August. So August might be when Marvel tries to release the Black Widow movie. They haven't announced a new release date yet, and they did say that the Black Widow delay will not affect the rest of the Marvel Phase 4 timeline. So that includes the Falcon and Winter Soldier episodes, which are also supposed to come in August, the WandaVision episodes, and all the other stuff like Marvel's Eternals, which is coming out in November. Some of you also messaged me asking about potential Venom 2 trailer leaked scenes, so I'll do a video on that tomorrow after I find out a little bit more about what's going on, but it also might be an indicator that they're going to release the Venom 2 trailer very soon. Because if you remember a little while ago, Sony did the exact same thing with the first Morbius trailer, allowing some Morbius images to leak out just a couple days before they released the official trailer. Marvel was also planning on releasing the first Eternals trailer with the Black Widow release, but because that's been delayed, they'll probably just push it by another month or so. So Eternals trailer sometime this summer. Hopefully that explains a little bit about what's going on with Tom Holland's Spider-Man crossing over into the Venom and the Morbius movies. It's just that the Sony movies will sort of dance around some of the other Avengers-related stuff and only talk about what Spider-Man has been doing for the last couple of years. There'll be a bunch more Marvel videos coming up, so everyone leave your requests and your big questions in the comments below. Everyone click here for my new Spider-Man 3 video, and everyone click here for my new Black Panther 2 Easter egg video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. I'll see you guys tonight.